Just getting ready for the weekend, checking out who's in, who's out. Looking forward to it, Mike.
Who's in, who's out? There's a lot of injuries this weekend. I guess we'll start with the quarterback spot here. Drew Brees out. I guess a lot of people are asking, should he have even been in your lineup, whether he was healthy or not?
No. It's not a great matchup. His arm strength is questionable. Even if he played, he wouldn't be at full strength. So now we have Mr. Verizon, Luke McCown, being your backup, and now he's starting for you. I'd still fade him.
Yeah, how about okay? Let's get into some quarterback play here. We like to ask guys that that you might not play, or some questions, guys who might have played ahead of, over their head. I want to ask about Carson Palmer. This guy looks like he's been an elite quarterback in the fantasy world. Are you trusting him in week number 3?
I am. I really like him. I think he's got another great matchup. He's very strong. He had plenty of performance the first 2 weeks. He was a strong player before he got hurt last year. He's got good wide receivers. What's not to like?
All right, let's go to another guy in the fantasy world that's, kind of one of those guys you don't really know what to do with sometimes, and that's Phillip Rivers. Last year he had a great fantasy season. Hasn't been quite as good this year. Does he give you a good start in week number 3?
I think it's a solid quarterback 2, not a 1, because Minnesota and San Diego, I think that game's going to be dominated on the ground. Both teams are weak against the rush, so I think you could see a lot of Danny Woodhead and especially Adrian Peterson in that game.
All right, what should their fantasy owners do with a guy like Tyrod Taylor?
I think he's in a good matchup. He's a good spot start. I think he's borderline quarterback 1 this week. If you had picked him up, if you've got a banged up quarterback 1, you can stick him in against the Dolphins. He's not going to be explosive like Andrew Luck or Tom Brady, but he can get you a solid performance.
Okay, let's. We've got a couple of listener questions on quarterbacks here. So while we're talking quarterbacks, let's ask Jeff. First question comes from Joe. He wants to know Cam Newton or Nick Foles for week 3.
I like Newton a lot more. He's a lot more consistent, a lot more better performance. I think Carolina's going to run the ball, and I think Newton could run the ball himself in for the end zone.
All right, continue sending your questions in. Text ESPN and your questions to 89,000. Jeff, let's swing over to the running back position here where there's a lot of injuries. We'll start off with Philadelphia with DeMarco Murray. Are you putting Murray in the lineup? He looks like he's going to play, but should you sit him in fantasy?
He's a game-time decision. I know the Eagles really need to get this win. Their offensive line has not been doing very well. They're getting blown off the line. I really like Darren Sproles a lot more this week just for catching the ball out of the backfield and getting out wide. I want to see a better performance than Murray before I trust him. D'Angelo
Williams has played really well in relief of Le'Veon Bell, who's back this week. So do you think Bell should be at the top of your list in week 3?
I don't have him at the top, but I think he's a solid running back 2 with lots of upside. A lot of people have him as a 1 this week. For me, St. Louis is a good defense. So until I see that he's back and in full force and Ben Roethlisberger is not going to throw 350 yards again, well, some of it might go to Bell. I have him as a 2 rather than a 1, but I would certainly play him.
Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. We're answering your Week 3 fantasy football questions. Text your question now. Text ESPN and your fantasy football question to the number 89,000 on the Harbor Pines Golf Club text board. I got a question from a listener who wants to know Frank Gore or Blue in week number 3.
Yeah, that's news because we have Aaron Foster definitely out. Adrian Foster definitely out. So, but I'm a little hesitant to use Blue. I would go with the other back.
Frank Gore was the question. So Frank Gore, good play?
Yes, he's a borderline running back 2. But I don't love either one. But I think that's a great matchup against Tennessee. I think the Colts are really going to pound the Titans this week. They really need that win.
You bowing on C.J. Anderson?
I'm okay with him. I think that this is his put up or shut up game. He's really got to show up for this game, or else we're going to see a lot more Ronnie Hillman going steps up this week.
All right, Sports Bash 97.3. I'm going to ask you a quarterback question we got coming in on the text board here. Jeff, Peyton Manning or Carson Palmer? He wants some help. Please, 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 he says.
Oddly enough, Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer, I have him just a little bit above Peyton Manning. Peyton, he got kind of lucky to even get that win on last Thursday night. I think they're going to try and run the ball more, but I think Arizona, no strong running game. They're going to throw the ball all day long.
Jeremy Hill, a lot of people picked him in the first round. What's the story on Hill?
Well, the problem was he had fumbleitis last week. He had 2 fumbles, and they went to Gio Bernard. But I think the Hill's gotten the message. He's going to run the ball, protect the ball a lot better. Baltimore's going to go after it, but I think that Hill and Bernard, you're looking at a 60-40 split for touches.
All right, we'll get some under-radar plays coming up from Jeff in just a few. Let's go over to the wide receivers this week. We saw a great night last night from Odell Beckham. He continues to do that for you. But let's see who is on the list for this Sunday. Let's start off with Brandon Marshall against the Eagles. People have been burning Byron Maxwell. Does that mean Marshall is the play?
I think Marshall's a top 10 guy for sure, especially with Decker as a question mark. I think that Marshall's going to see at least 10 targets. He's looking probably around 80 to 100 yards for 7 or 8 catches. Solid number 1 this week.
Jordan Matthews, a lot of catches, good yards, has the dropsies. What about the matchup against the Jets?
It's going to be tough for him. I do like him. Again, Philadelphia really needs to get it going. The running game is a little bit iffy. But Matthews is the number 1 target for the Eagles right now, and they run so many plays. You have to have Matthews in your lineup because the Eagles just play 80 times a snap.
Michael Evans, he disappointed me last week. Will he disappoint me again?
I think Mike Evans is a sneaky wide receiver, too, this week. I think that with Austin Seferian-Jenkins being out, I think Jameis Winston is going to have to look to both Evans and Vincent Jackson a lot this week.
How about Sammy Watkins out there? He had a 0 the first week, better in week 2.
Well, I understand the game script last week was they were chasing New England all day long. So I don't think that you were going to see that with Buffalo playing Miami this week. I think it'd be a lot more reserved. I don't think you're going to see Tyrod Taylor throwing that much. So I like Watkins, but more as a wide receiver 3.
How about Michael Crabtree? There was a sighting in Oakland last week. Should he be in your lineup this week?
Well, you're looking up against Cleveland, so anything's possible. I see this is one of the hardest games for me to predict. I could see it being 6-6 or 30-30. I really don't know. So Crabtree is a flex, kind of what the heck. I'll put him in there, but I don't feel confident about starting him this week.
How about his buddy Amari Cooper? He had a monster week. Is that his breakout game to say, yes, he should be in your lineup?
Now, he looks like a stud for sure, and we all had him pegged as the number 1 guy. I think he's going to dominate the targets, and I think he's going to get open and go deep. But what you saw last week against Baltimore is going to be typical of what he's capable of doing, and in and out every week.
Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. We'll get some listener questions in just a moment here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. Last question on the wide receivers here, Jeff. Cecil Shorts down with the Houston Texans there. The listener wants to know, Cecil Shorts or Charles Johnson in Minnesota?
It's a tough call. I would lean Shorts if down in Houston their number 1, DeAndre Hopkins, is sidelined with a concussion. Sounds like he's going to play, though. I just don't. I don't trust that matchup too well, so I would be tentative to use either one, but if I had to choose, I'd choose Shorts.
All right, Isaiah Crowell, Jonathan Stewart, or T. Williams as a flex?
I'm sorry, one more time?
Crowell, Stewart, Jonathan Stewart, or T. Williams. I guess Terrence Williams from Dallas as a flex.
Yeah, I would definitely go with Stewart because I think Carolina's going to run the ball all day against the Saints.
How about Travis Benjamin? Can he get another long one against the Raiders?
No, because Johnny Football is not starting for them anymore. So you're looking at check down specialist this week.
Yeah, that's been he had 2 straight weeks with 50+ yard bombs, right?
That's right. But now you're going down all the way down to quarterback 25, 26 at the best with Josh McCown. So I think that the tight ends are more going to be being played than the home run wide receiver for Cleveland this week.
All right, Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. Macklin or Stevie Johnson?
I love Stevie Johnson this week. I think that San Diego, I think they're going to run the ball a lot. I think both those guys are very solid plays. I think Macklin has a better chance to get to the end zone, but I think that Johnson's going to see more volume.
All right, Hyde, Bernard, or Abdullah at running back?
Ooh, I would. San Francisco's got a tough matchup. I think I would lead towards Gio Bernard. I think they're going to run the ball more in a very competitive AFC North contest.
Okay, a flex option: James Stark or Crowell?
Oh, I love Stark this week. Crowell is a solid play, but he's getting pushed from Duke Johnson. But Stark, he's going to get a lot of volume no matter what, even if Eddie Lacy's playing this week.
All right, Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. Give us a couple under-the-radar guys or guys that you think should be in your lineup this week.
Well, if you're desperate for a tight end, I think Gary Barnidge for Cleveland, believe it or not, he's probably even on your waiver wire. But Oakland can't defend the tight end, so I think that's a great play. Running backs, James Starks is my number 1 guy. I think Deion Lewis is still in the mix. I love, as I said before, Sterling Sproles, but Bilal Powell is going to get a lot of volume, a lot of catches as well. Wide receiver, you can spread them all around, but I think that my number one sleeper this week is Darius Hayward-Bay. He's seen 12 targets. He's had over 100 yards and a touchdown. He's going to get a lot of volume. He's a great pickup this week.
All right, he's Jeff Pasquino from thefootballguys.com. Make sure you check out footballguys.com for all of your fantasy football stuff. There's almost too much information, or it's overload for me sometimes. I'm reading everybody's columns and getting all the information, and I've started off 6-0, 3 leagues. Actually, no, 5-1. I did lose in one of my leagues, but all the information, and if you're an IDP player, they got great stuff there as well. He's Jeff Pasquino from footballguys.com. All right, bud, good luck to you.
Good luck to you. Enjoy all the games. Have a good week.